Hey everybody, my name is Ethix.
My name is T.
And welcome to Fearful Thoughts.
Well, hello there, and ho ho ho, welcome back.
Merry Homus.
Merry Homus.
Yeah.
Where the
all
hoes
festive up in this bitch.
You're all festive. Yeah, if you
Fuck
guys
yeah.
you guys can't see it, but he's wearing a Santa hat with Yoda ears.
Fuck yeah.
It's pretty dope, actually.
and I'm super festive. You know, we got our festive drinks going on here, you know.
Oh, hell yeah. We got the sparkling grape.
Fuck yeah.
Fuck
Cheers,
yeah.
buddy.
Cheers, man. Oh my god, that's good.
Oh yeah. Fucking delicious. I love that shit.
Fuck yeah. So I have something to tell you today.
Okay.
So-
what do you got for me, buddy?
So you know, last week I was telling you about we have all these people watching. We are up to 38 people.
Oh
listening.
damn.
So pretty awesome. Almost
That is awesome. That's amazing.
almost up to the 40 mark. So again, tell your friends, tell your family, dog, cat. But what I have to tell you today is that, dude, we got more chicks listening than guys.
Holy shit, really?
Yeah, well, we're pretty popular with the ladies, I think.
Ladies, man. All right.
I mean, that's what I
Yeah.
was thinking too. I saw that and I was like, holy shit. There are 73% more women listening than men.
Wow.
Yeah, 73.
That's crazy.
So, yeah, just don't tell your husband or your boyfriend that you're listening to this. I mean, just saying. No, I'm just kidding.
Or get him to download the app and start listening on their own.
Exactly. No, seriously.
Pump up those numbers.
And you know what? We don't have any messages yet.
Yeah, what's up with that, people? Like, what the fuck?
I have no idea. I guess we're not cool enough to be like, "What's up, guys?" You know?
Yeah, like, what the hell? It would have been nice if I don't know, somebody messaged us and been like, "Merry Christmas" or something, you know?
Yeah, where's our Merry Christmas at?
Or maybe that, you know, our PSA last week helped somebody. That would have been really cool.
I honestly, I hope it did help somebody for sure.
I hope it helped a lot of somebody's.
But I just had to tell you that because I just thought it was interesting.
that is like, holy cow, you know. I know that we've got a whole lot going on here and stuff, but I just watched 2 movies this week, and I just wanted to talk about them.
Yeah, go for it.
They were on Shudder.
Ooh.
I know I keep saying Shudder. No, they don't pay us. They just have some really cool horror movies and shows. Watched the remake of Castle Freak.
I don't think I've seen that. What is that?
Oh, it's based on a H.P. Lovecraft story about how in the remake they changed it from the original movie. I've not read the story myself, so I don't know how close it is to the actual story material.
Okay.
But this blind girl inherits a castle, which I'm like, fuck, I want to inherit a castle. Like, come on now.
Yeah, no shit. Me too.
But it turns out to be a cult ran castle. There's this grotesque, mutated looking chick in the castle walls that's killing people and stuff. And what it all comes around is that the blind chick turns out. Oh wait, I'm not gonna say it because for any of you listening or whatever, I don't want to give away spoilers.
Spoiler alert.
You know, so but it has to do with the occult and it has to do with raising the old ones.
The old ones? That sounds kind of pedophile-ish.
No, that's what H.P. Lovecraft's gods are. The great old ones.
Oh,
like
so
Cthulhu
okay.
and stuff like that. And then the other one I watched on Shudder was called Z.
Zombies?
No, just Z.
No,
has nothing to do with zombies.
Oh, nothing. Okay,
nothing
that's
to
what
do
my
with
question
zombies
was.
at all.
Okay.
It has to do with like this imaginary friend named Z.
Okay.
And through the movie, it progresses, and like I said, I'm not going to give any spoilers away other than really good movie. I definitely recommend that people check it out.
You know, the thing
the creep factor of that movie, kind of like almost like Shadow People kind of thing, kind of vibe,
okay,
is what it was given off. It was really cool.
Okay, I'll have to check that out. That actually sounds pretty cool. Give me a little bit of a Saturday night listening or watching. Sorry.
Instead of your usual porn.
Yeah, no, I gotta get rid of that addiction somehow.
Well, if maybe one of our female listeners reaches out to you, maybe you can go on a date.
No, that's called prostitution.
Only if you pay for it.
Who's to
A
say I
date
won't?
is totally different.
You don't know that.
I guess you're right.
No, what I was gonna say was, we in the future are gonna be talking about different horror movies. So if people get mad that if we do an episode on like a new movie that's coming out or that's already came out and you haven't seen it, like if it's a movie that's been out forever and you haven't seen it, no offense, no spoilers alert for you because you've been fucking missing out for however many years. Like if it's like 80s slasher film.
I'm sorry, but if the movie's been out for 5+ years, there's no holding back on the spoilers. Like we're just gonna let it fly because if you haven't seen a movie that is 5 years or older, come on.
What are you
doing?
That's plenty of time, honestly.
Right, plenty of time to have at least. If it's 5 years or older, the spoilers have already been out on the internet for years and years.
Oh, exactly.
So we ain't ruining shit at that point.
No, I agree 100%, honestly.
So, yeah, I agree. And maybe we should stick to movies that are 5 years and older.
That's not a bad idea. I definitely know I want to do 80s slasher films and stuff.
And we could talk about upcoming horror movies, ones that aren't released yet, possibly.
Yeah, and give a little feedback and tell people what's going on with that for sure. No, but like, I really hope that you guys understand. I want to see people messaging us because if you really do, I want you guys to go on Anchor.com. And I want you guys to go Fearful Thoughts, look that up, and literally send us a
message.
Yeah, send a voice message. Just like I said, again, I sound like a broken record. Say hi, say what's up, and even give us ideas that what you want to see. Yeah, well, and you could totally be featured on the next Fearful Thoughts episode, and we'll give you total credit.
Or send in your own story. You have your own ghost story or cryptid story or your very own experience of something. Send it in. We'll get it on here.
Actually,
definitely.
What I was thinking was doing, we need to make an email so not only they can voice message us. So let's say it's like a longer story that they have. Like I want to hear that spooky shit. Just saying, as much detail as possible if you can. And then they could email it to us, and then we can read it on an episode.
Oh, yes, definitely. But if they do that, though, they need to let us know if they don't want their names read.
Oh, 100%.
Like that's got to be number one, first sentence out the gate. Hey, I don't want my name out there. Yeah,
no, and if you do tell us in the story, change the name. Like if your name is like, let's say David, and you don't want to be told that you're sending this, be like, my name is Jack, I changed my name for this purpose, blah blah blah. I don't want to be putting myself out there. That's totally fine, no big deal.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I'm sorry, I was laughing because T was playing with his ears on this hat. Goddamn pedophile, Yoda.
Horror, I will.
Oh God.
Play with my lightsaber, you will.
No.
It's big and green.
Dude, did you ever think that it was funny that Yoda has a green lightsaber and he's green?
Yes, I thought that was hilarious.
Well, I don't know. I always thought that was kind of weird.
And his broken English. I mean,
yeah, what the fuck? Talk normal.
And it's just him. Like, Yaddle could talk normal.
Could she really?
Yes.
Well, what the fuck? Yoda's just like, I got taught totally different. I don't know how to speak English.
He dropped out in the 2nd grade.
He was like, fuck this. I do 4 shit. Speaking of...
I have not watched the newest episode. I'm behind on just this week's episode.
Oh my God.
I've heard nothing but good things about it.
There's a what the fuck factor in the new episode, and holy shit.
There has been each episode so far.
Oh yeah, and so you've seen last week's then, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, when he took off his
He
off
took off his helmet.
Yeah, or I said mask, dumb.
Yeah.
It was hinting at it. Me and my friend Nick, the judge from the Versus episode, him and I were talking about it, and he was saying, dude, they've been hinting at it forever. Like, not forever, but just the way that they've implied that he's going to take off his fucking helmet. Like, when Boba Fett and the other Mandalorians from previous episodes have their helmets off, and he's like, you aren't true Mandalorians because you know, and there's different ways of being a Mandalorian.
Right.
That he gets to realize.
It just different religions, you know.
Yeah.
They all think that they're right and the others are wrong. But anyways, I'm not going into that.
Yeah, I guess that's not considered horror.
No, well, and we decided a long time ago that we were not going to talk about that.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
So no. I started going down that road. I'm glad I stopped myself. Well, yeah, Christmas. Just around the corner, man.
Yeah,
like,
might as well just say it now. We just want to say Merry Christmas. Merry early Christmas, because we're a week out, but...
Well, it depends on when people listen to this. You know, they might not hear it till Christmas.
So if you're hearing this on Christmas, Merry Christmas. But
and boy, do we have a Christmas-themed episode today, speaking of which...
Yeah, that's why I said ho 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 earlier. Didn't you hear my festivities?
I thought you were talking to the girls in the back.
There's nobody in the back.
They left.
What?
As you called them hoes, they each left. You're like, ho, ho, ho. And they're like, bye, fucker.
They're like, go, go, go. Well, fine, okay.
Yeah.
They're not cool enough then. They don't understand the humor.
Not. No. But, so yeah, are you ready for a random horror fact?
Dude, I've been waiting.
I know. You texted me in the middle of the night the other night, begging me to tell you what it was. I know the anticipation's just fucking killing you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was curious.
Yeah, and you're just like our listeners. You have to wait until the day of to find out. You no sneak peeks going on here. No fucking spoilers for you, bitch.
I'll give you a spoiler. Never mind.
Yeah. Alright, so this week's random horror fact is brought to you by The Exorcist.
I'm sorry. I thought we were doing a sponsor thing. I was like, did we get another one?
No.
What the fuck?
The look on your face. Holy shit.
That threw me off so bad.
I can tell. Yeah, so this week we're talking about The Exorcist. William Peter Blatty's novel is based on the real-life 1949 exorcism of a young boy known by the pseudonym Roland Doe. The story became national news and caught the interest of Blatty, who was a student at Georgetown University at the time, hence the change in location. The Exorcist was the first horror film to be nominated for a Best Picture Oscar. The horror genre has never gotten much love from the Academy, though there seems to be a bias against scary movies during award season. The Exorcist earned 10 Oscar nominations in 1974, including a Best Supporting Actress nod for Linda Blair, which I've met her. She is cool as shit.
Yeah, I've seen you. You got pictures, right?
Yep, and she has dog rescue and stuff.
Oh wow, that's nice.
Yeah, I'm sorry, go off topic a little bit, but she was only 15 years at the time. Unfortunately, the teenager's nomination was met with much controversy as word about McCambridge's contribution to the role spread, which I met her as well.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Many of The Exorcist cast and crew members believe the set was cursed. Filming in the U.S. took place in both New York City and Washington, D.C. After a number of eerie incidents on the New York City set, including a studio fire that forced the team to rebuild the sets of the house interiors, Blady and Friedkin regularly brought in a priest, Father King, to bless the cast, crew, and set when production moved to D.C. By the end of the film's production, 9 people associated with it being made had passed away.
Wow. So it was cursed.
Yeah.
That's
it was cursed. And actually, strangely enough, to bring it Shudder up again, they have. We really need to get them to sponsor us.
That'd be dope.
They have a show on there called Cursed, and it talks about different movie productions and stuff being cursed, and The Exorcist was one of them that they talked about.
That's
no,
really...
I did not get any of this information from that. I did my own research and stuff.
You know, that it strangely enough, it almost brought me back to when I was thinking, because I saw this video. Sorry, I'm rambling a little bit, but of the set off of, I think it was one of the Conjuring movies. Apparently, their set was a haunted set. And because I think it was one of the actors that was like filming it, what was going on, and I think it was the where the basement scene happened. I think it was the first Conjuring movie, and it's when I think there were like noises and they heard voices down there, and it was like after the scene or whatever, everybody's gone, and it was just like a few people there. And they were hearing shit down where the basement was, you know.
Interesting. Well, why don't we do a little bit of research on that and
check it out,
and bring that up next time, or the time after, with thorough information, maybe with the actual video clip.
Yeah,
and we can review that.
Yeah, that could definitely be done for sure. Yeah, no, I thought that was really cool, and that is really awesome, actually, and shitty for those 9 people that lost their lives.
Yeah, you know, it really is. I did not look up their names.
Okay.
I tried to stay away from bringing up their names. I just
out of respect.
Out of respect for them, and you know, it is sad that they lost their lives during the filming. But a lot of really good information. What of this did you not already know?
Of the horror fact?
Yeah.
I for sure I didn't know about her the little charity thing that she does. Sorry.
Yeah, with if I remember right, it's with Bulldogs.
Bulldog. Okay. Is that like company or like dog?
Dog.
Okay.
Like she, if I remember right, her charity is focused around bulldogs because they have such a bad rap as it is.
Yeah, same with pit bulls.
Or maybe it's pit bulls. Maybe it is pit bulls.
Probably pit bulls, because pit bulls have, I think, one of the higher bad reps.
I'm trying to remember, but that sounds more right.
But anyway,
she's got a website you can go and donate to the cause.
Do you have the website?
I do not have the website on me. Why don't you go ahead and I will find it.
Yeah, you look that up really fast, and yeah. So this week is a little bit different for the fact being it's Christmas themed, and it's amazing. And so we went different routes as we have been doing, which, like we've talked about, we actually enjoyed doing it like that. So T actually went into more horror monsters, and he's actually taken us around the world. And I'm doing more of like Christmas themed scary story, like kind of like the Christmas Carol. And yeah, no.
Great, so we're going to be learning about Scrooge.
No, not Scrooge McDuck or Scrooge the Man.
Damn it, I was so hoping it was Scrooge McDuck.
I was actually, but I did contemplate on doing that. I'm not going to lie. I was like, but, everybody knows the story.
Yeah, so it's nice to delve into something of the unknown. I mean, that's what we're all about.
Oh yeah, and these
Dredging
are
up unknown stuff.
these are creepy. I will give you that. Do you have the?
So I do have the website. It is lindablairworldheart.org.
Okay.
It's her foundation. There's all kinds of stuff on here. Talking about education, to help educate people about different things for dogs. Support. There's an adoption thing. There's a donate button on here on the main menu.
Okay.
Where you can go and you can make a donation. You can do a one-time donation, a monthly donation. You can become a benefactor in the company, which takes like $500 or more. I mean, that's a pretty hefty.
That is a pretty hefty donation.
I'm not saying the animals aren't worth it, because they are. I mean,
no, I thoroughly agree.
Our haunted house that we do, we donate all the proceeds to our local shelter, and I mean, we've given as much as $8,000 one year to them.
Yeah, I remember that. That was the big check?
Yeah,
Wasn't it?
We got the big Publishers Clearinghouse size check. Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, every time I see those checks, I think of the movie Happy Gilmore when he's just throwing them in his fucking car.
Love that movie.
I do too.
Price is Wrong, bitch.
Yeah, no, that movie is probably all my high favorites for sure. I love Adam Sandler.
Yeah, especially his new Halloween movie.
Oh
that
god,
he
it's funny as shit.
Oh god, I love that. That was hilarious. It's on Netflix. Check it out. Hubie Halloween.
Yeah, it was definitely worth it. Go watch that. So to get back on track, I have another 2 truths and a lie for you this
All
week.
right. What do you got for me today, buddy?
Okay, so try to guess it. You got last week's right, which I was really surprised.
Shit, I did, didn't I?
Yeah. So you finally broke the lose streak. Let's see if you can keep the win streak going.
Come on, ladies. Message me and help me out.
No.
Come on.
Okay, so first up, we have Krampus's appearance varies, but he often has one human foot and one cloven foot. Number 2, Krampus does have a weakness. If given a piece of fruit, typically an apple or an orange, by a child, he will sit down to eat the gift, sharing it with whomever is there and engage in polite conversation. Krampus will then leave the area, harming no one. And number 3, it is said that Krampus was once human, a man who was infuriated by the naughty children of the village. He was given demonic Christmas powers, being able to punish the naughty children from his village and around the world.
Wow. Jeez, now I'm wishing I had actually read through all of my stories.
Beep, beep, beep. Not doing your research. No,
I got
kidding.
research on the paper, but I don't memorize it.
I'm just kidding.
Let's see here.
There's only one right answer.
Yeah. God, these ones are actually pretty tough because none of them stand out as like.
It's like,
being truthful or not.
It's not as obvious, is it?
Yeah.
And you got to think about it like this, because he's a mythical creature. Not proven, but mythical creature, quote unquote. It's harder to pinpoint whether it's a lie or not, for the fact being that there are various different.
There's a lot of variations.
Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, it definitely makes it a little bit harder to find.
To pinpoint it down, to make it very obvious of what his true nature really is.
Well,
I wish I had a Jeopardy theme song.
Oh, right. Where's that at this time?
I'm sorry.
Do 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 do
Do do do do do
do do do.
All right.
All right. Yeah, I'm just gonna go out on a limb here because none of these are standing out per se, but I'm going to say B is the lie. It's
Final answer. Because
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Final answer, because I've got nothing. No, I got nothing. B's final answer.
Man, you are wrong.
I had a feeling.
No. So the lie that I personally made up myself was that Krampus was once a human. There is nothing out there that says that he was once a human. I mean, there could be. I could be totally wrong and not in the right websites that I've looked at, but there is nothing that I personally found that says that he was. Because I was curious about that, but he was kind of like a yin and yang to Santa.
Yeah. He's the evil part of Christmas. Like, Santa's a good guy that brings presents, ho ho ho, Merry Christmas, and then he's like, okay, so for all you bad kids, come this direction. Come here. Look, my bag. I got some shit in my bag for you, bad kids. And then he beats them with a stick.
Well, and not even just a stick sometimes, but he, from what I read, on at least some of the things that I read, him and Santa, there's no actual hate between them because they work together.
Yeah. That is also what I have seen here. Is that they work together.
So the big fat man that watches you while you sleep and while you're awake also is friends with a fucking demonic demon that a demonic Christmas demon, might I add, make it festive.
and he's not the only Christmas demon. He's the most popular, most well known, but I got some shit here.
Okay, well we'll get back to you.
So I'm ready to hear some shit. So
you ready for the spook?
I'm gonna take a swig of my festive juice here and
oh yeah,
sit back and listen to some scary shit.
Every time you move your head, those ears move, and it makes me laugh. I'm sorry.
Fuck yeah.
Okay, so the first story that I got for today is called Dark Christmas. Are you ready for this? You as ready as you are gonna be?
I'm as ready as I'm gonna be. I'm comfy. I got my juice. I got my little Yoda Santa hat and shit. Like I'm ready.
All right. Let's get in.
Let's get this shit going.
We had borrowed the house from a friend none of us seemed to know. High fallen house stood on an eminence overlooking the sea. I could have botched that. It was a square Victorian gentleman's residence. The large bay windows looked down through the pines towards the shore. 6 stone steps led the visitor up to the double front door, where a Gothic bell pull release allowed mournful clang deep into the distances of the house. Laurel lined the drive. The stable block was disguised. The wall garden had been locked up in 1914 when the gardeners went to war. Only one had returned. I had been warned that the high brick wall enclosing the garden was unsafe. As I passed it slowly in the car, I saw a faded notice falling off the paint-peeled door. Do not enter. I was the first to arrive. My friends were following by train, and I was to collect them the next day, and then we would settle down to Christmas. I had driven from Bristol, and I was tired. There was a Christmas tree roped at the top of my 4x4 and a truckload of provisions. We were not near any town, but the housekeeper had left stacked wood to build a fire, and I brought a shepherd's pie and a bottle of rosé for my first night. The kitchen was cheerful enough once I had got the fire going and the radio playing while I unpacked our festive supplies. Oh, fuck, I can't talk. I checked my phone, no signal. Still, I knew the time of the train tomorrow, and it was a relief to feel that the world had gone away. I put my food in the oven to heat up, poured a glass of wine, and went upstairs to find myself a bedroom. The first landing had 3 bedrooms leading off it. Each had a moth-eaten rug, a metal bed, and a mahogany chest of drawers. At the far end of the landing was a second set of stairs to the attic floor. I am not romantic about maids, rooms, or nurseries, and there was something about that second set of stairs that made me hesitant. The landing was bright in the sudden way of late sun on a winter's afternoon, yet the light ended abruptly at the foot of the stairs as though it couldn't go any further. I didn't want to be near that set of stairs, so I chose the room at the front of the house. As I went to bring up my bag, the house bell started to ring, its jerky metallic hammers sounding somewhere in the guts of the house. I was surprised, but not alarmed. I expected the housekeeper. I opened the door. There was no one there. I went down the steps and looked around. I admit I was frightened. The night was clear and soundless. There was no car in the distance, no footsteps walking away. Determined to conquer my fear, I walked around a little. Then turning back to the house, I saw it. The bell wire ran alongside the door, the side of the house under a sheltering gutter. Perhaps 30 or 40 bats were dangling upside down on the vibrating wire. The same number swooped and swerved in the dark mass. Obviously, their movement on the wire had set off the bell. I like bats. Clever bats. Good. Now supper. I ate. I drank. I wondered why love is so hard and life is so short. I went to bed. The room was warmer now, and I was ready to sleep. The sound of the sea embedded into the flow of my dreams. I awoke from a dead sleep in dead darkness to hear, what? What can I hear? It sounded like a ball bearing or a marble rolling on the bare floor above my head. It rolled hard and hard again, then hit the wall. It rolled again in the other direction. This might not have mattered, except that the other direction was upstairs. Things can come loose and roll downwards, but they cannot come loose and roll up, unless someone that thought it was so unwelcome that I dismissed it along with the law of gravity. Whatever was rolling over my head must be a natural dislodging. The house was draughty and unused. The attics were under the eaves, and where any kind of weather might get in, weather or an animal. Remember the bats. I pulled the covers up to my eyebrows and pretended not to listen. There it was again, hard on the floor, and it paused. I waited for sleep, waiting for daylight. We are lucky, even the worst of us, because daylight comes. It was brooding day, that 21st of December, the shortest day of the year. Coffee, coat on, car keys. Shouldn't I just check the attic? The second set of stairs was narrow, a servant's staircase. It led to a lath and plaster corridor, barely a shoulder width wide. I started coughing. Breathing was difficult. Damp had dropped the plaster in thick, crumbling heads on the floorboards. As well, there were 3 doors. 2 were closed. The door to the room above my door was ajar. I made myself go forward. The room was under the eaves, as I had guessed. The floor was rough. There was no bed, only a washstand and clothes rail. What surprised me was the nativity scene in the corner, standing out about 2 feet tall. It was more like a doll's house than a Christmas decoration. Inside the open-fronted stable stood the animals, the shepherds, the crib, Joseph. Above the roof, on a bit of wire, was a battered star. It was old, handmade, in a workman-like, but not craftsman-like sort of way. The painted wood, now rubbed and faded like pigments of time. I thought I would carry it downstairs and put it on by our Christmas tree. It must have been made for the children when there were children here. I stuffed my pockets with the figures and animals and left quickly, leaving the door open. I had to set off for the station. Stephanie and Susie could help me with the rest later. As soon as I was out of the house, my lungs felt clear again. It must be the plaster dust. The drive to the station was along the coast road, lonely and unyielding. The road turned in a series of blind bends and tight corners. I met no one and saw no one. Gulls circled over the sea. The station itself was a simple shelter on a long single track. There were no information boards. I checked my phone. No signal. At last, the train appeared distant down the track. I was excited. Memories of visiting my father as a child when he was stationed at his RFA base camp. Our base give me a rush of pleasure whenever I travel by train or come to meet one. The train slowed and halted. The guard stood down for a moment. I watched the doors. It wasn't a big train, this branch line train, but none of the doors opened. I waved at the guard who came over. I am meeting my friends. He shook his head. Train's empty. Next stop is the end of the line. I was confused. Had they got off at the earlier stop? I described them. The guard shook his head again. I noticed strangers. They would have boarded at Carlisle. Asked me where to get off. Always do. Is there another train before tomorrow? One a day, and that's your lot. And more than anybody needs in a space like this. Where are you staying? High Fallen House. Do you know it? Oh, hey. We all know it. He looked as if we were about to say something else. Instead, he blew his whistle. The empty train pulled away, leaving me staring down the long track, watching the red light as like a warning. I needed to get a signal on my phone. I drove on past the station, following the steep hill, hoping some height would connect me to the rest of the world. At the top of the hill, I stopped the car and got out. Pulling up to the collar of my coat, the first snow hit my face with insistence, sharp and spiteful like little bites. I looked out across the whitening bay. That must be High Fallen House. But what's that? Two figures walking on the beach. Is it Stephen and Susie? Had they driven here after all? Then, as I strained my eyes against the deceit of the distance, I realized that the second figure was much smaller than the first. They were walking purposefully towards the house. When I arrived back, it was nearly dark. I put on the lights, blew the fire into a blaze. There was no sign of the mysterious couple I had seen from the hill. Perhaps it had been the housekeeper and her daughter come to make sure that everything was all right. I had a telephone number for Mrs. Wormwood, but without a signal I could not call her. The snow was thickening in windy swirls. Relax. Have a whiskey. I learned on the warm kitchen range with my whiskey in my hand. The wooden figures I had brought down from the attic were lying on the kitchen table. I should go up and get the stable. I don't want to. I bounded up the first set of stairs, using energy to force out unease. At my bedroom, I put on the light. That felt better. The second set of stairs stood in the shadow at the end of the long landing. I felt that constriction in my lungs again. Why am I holding on to the handrail like an old man? I could see that the only light to the attic was at the top of the stairs. I found the round brown bakelite switch. I flicked down to the nipple. A single bulb lit up reluctantly. The room was straight ahead. The door was closed. Hadn't I left it open? I turned the handle and stood in the doorway, the room dimly lit by the light of the stairs washstand. Nativity clothes rail. On the clothes rail was a child's dress. I hadn't noticed that before. I suppose I had been in a hurry, pushing aside my misgivings. I went in purposefully. God, I can't talk today, sorry. And bent down to pick up the wooden nativity. It was heavy, and I had just got it secure in my arms when the light on the landing went out. Hello? Who's there? There's someone breathing like they can barely breathe, not faint, struggling for breath. I mustn't turn around because whoever or whatever it is behind me. I stood still for a minute, steadying my nerve, then shuffled forward towards the edge of the light coming from downstairs. At the doorway, I heard a step behind me. Lost my balance and put out a hand to steady myself. My hand gripped something wet. The clothes rail. It must be the dress. My heart was overbeating. Don't panic. Bakelite, bad wiring, strange house, darkness, aloneness. But you're not alone, are you? Back in the kitchen with whiskey, Radio 4, and pasta boiling, I examined the dress. It was for a small child, and it was hand-knitted. The wool was smelly and sopping. I washed it out and left it hanging over the sink to dry. I guess there must be a hole in the roof, and the dress had been soaking up the rain for a long time. I ate my supper, tried to read, told myself it had been nothing at all. It was only 8 p.m. I didn't want to go to bed, though the snow outside was like a quilt. I decided to arrange the nativity, donkey, sheep, camels, wise men, shepherds, star, Joseph. The crib was there, but it was empty. There was no Christ child, and there was no Mary. Had I dropped them in the dark room? I hadn't heard anything fall, and these wooden figures were 6 inches tall. Joseph was wearing a woolen tunic, but his wooden legs had painted, I'm probably going to botch this again, puttees. I pulled off the tunic. Underneath wooden Joseph wore a painted uniform. First World War. When I turned him around, I saw there was a gash in his back like a stab wound. My phone beeped. I dropped Joseph, grabbed the phone. It was a text from Susie. Trying to call you. Leave tomorrow. I sat down again with a nativity. Or, sorry, I'm getting lost. I pressed call, nothing. I tried to send a text, nothing. But what did it matter? Suddenly, I felt relief and calm. They had been delayed. That was all. Tomorrow, they would be here. I sat down again with the nativity. Perhaps the missing figures were inside. I put in my hand, my fingers closed round a metal object. It was a small iron key with a hoop top. Maybe it was the key to the attic door. Outside, snow had fallen, snow on snow. The sky had cleared. The moon sped above the sea. I had gone to bed, and I was deep asleep when I heard it clearly above me. Footsteps, pacing down the room. Hesitant, I return. I lay in bed, eyes staring blindly at the blind ceiling. Why do we open our eyes when we can't see anything? And what was there to see? I don't believe in ghosts. I wanted to put on the light, but what if the light didn't come on? Why would it be worse to be in darkness? I had not chosen that. I had not chosen the darkness I was choosing, but it would be worse. I sat up in bed and pulled back the curtain a little. The moon had been so bright tonight. Surely there would be light. There was light outside the house. Hand in hand stood the still and silent figures of a mother and child. I did not sleep again till daylight, and when I slept and woke again, it was almost midday, and already the light was lowering. Hurrying to get coffee, I saw the dress was gone. I had left it dripping over the sink, and it was gone. Get out of the house. I set off for the station. There was an air frost that had coated the trees in glittering white. It was beautiful and deathly. The world held in ice. On the road there were no car tracks, no noise, but the roar and drop of the sea. I moved slowly and saw no one. In the white, unmoving landscape, I wondered if there was anyone else left alive. At the station, I waited. Some time passed, and time until the train whistled on the track. The train stopped. The guard got down and saw me. He shook his head. "There's no one," he said. "No one at all?" I thought. I thought I would cry. I took out my mute phone, flashed it up. The message, trying to call you, leave tomorrow. The guard looked at it. "Happen. It's you who should be leaving," he said. There's no more trains past Carlisle now till the 27th. Tomorrow was the last, and that's been canceled. Weather. I wrote down a number and gave it to the guard. "Will you phone my friends and tell them I am on my way home?" On the slow journey back to the high-fallen house, I filled my mind with my departure. It would be slow and dangerous to travel at night, but I could not consider another night alone. Or not alone. All I had to do was manage 40 miles to Ink Barn. There was a pub and a guest house and remote but normal life. The text message kept playing in my head. Had it really meant that I should leave? And why? Because Susie and Steven couldn't come? Weather? Illness? It's all a guessing game. The fact is, I have to go. The house seemed subdued when I returned. I had left the lights on, and when I went straight upstairs to pack my bag. At once, I saw the light to the attic was on. I paused, breathed. Of course it's on. I never switched it off. That proves its wiring default. I must tell the housekeeper. My bag packed, I threw the food into a box and put everything back in the car. I had the whiskey in the front, a blanket I stole from the bed, and made a hot water bottle just in case. I was only 5 o'clock. At worst, I'd be at Ink Barn by 9 p.m. I got in the car and turned the key. The radio came on for a second, died. And as the ignition clicked and clicked, I knew that the battery was flat. 2 hours ago at the station, the car had started first time, even if I had left the lights on. But I hadn't left the lights on. A cold panic hit me. I took a swig of the whiskey. I couldn't sleep in the car all night. I would die. I don't want to die. Back in the house, I wondered what I was going to do all night. I must not fall asleep. I had noticed some old books and volumes when I had explored downstairs yesterday, assorted dusty adventure stories and tales of empire. As I sorted through them, I came across a faded velvet photograph album. In the cold, deserted room, I began to discover the past. High Fallen House 1910. The women in long skirts with miraculous waists. The men in shooting tweeds. The stable boys in waistcoats. The gardening boys wearing flat caps, the maids in starched aprons, and here they are again in their Sunday best. A wedding photograph, Joseph and Mary Locke, 912. He was a gardener, and she was a maid. In the back of the album, loose and unsorted, were further photographs and newspaper cuttings in 1914. The men in uniform, there was Joseph. I took the album back into the kitchen and put it next to my wooden soldier. I had my coat and scarf. I propped myself up in 2 chairs by the wood-fired range and dozed and waited and dozed. It was perhaps 2 o'clock when I heard a child crying. Not a child who has scraped his knee or a lost toy, but an abandoned child. A child whose own voice in his last hold on life. A child who cries and knows that no one will come. The sound was not above me. It was above the above me. I knew where it was coming from. I put my hands over my ears and my head between my knees. I could not shut out the sound. A locked up child, a hungry child, a child who was cold and wet and frightened. Twice I got up and went to the door. Twice I sat down again, and the crying stopped. Silence, a dreadful silence. I raised my head. Footsteps were coming down the stairs. Not 1 foot in front of the other, but 1 foot dragging slightly. Then the other joining it, steadying, stepping again. At the bottom of the stairs, the footsteps paused. And then they did what I knew they would do. With all the terror in my body, the footsteps came towards the kitchen. Whatever was out there was standing 12 feet away on the other side of the door. I stood behind the table, picked up a knife. The door swung open. Hold up. The door swung open. And shit, I just lost my swung open with the violent force that rammed the brass doorknob onto the plaster of the wall. Wind and snow blew into the kitchen, whirling up the photographs and cuttings on the table. I saw that the front door itself was wide open. The entrance hall was like a wind tunnel. Holding the knife, I went forward into the hall to shut the door. The pendant metal lantern that hung from the ceiling was swinging widely on its long chain. A sudden gust lurched it forward like a child's swing, pushed it too high. It fell back at force against the large semicircular fan light over the front door. The fan light shattered and fell round my shoulders in shards of sharp rain. Flicker, buzz, darkness. The house lights went out. No wind now. No cries. Silence again. Glass hit in the snow-lit hall. I walked out of the front door and into the night. At the drive, I turned left and I saw them. The mother and child. The child was wearing the woolen dress. She had no shoes. She held up her arms to her mother, who stood like stone. I ran forward. I grabbed the child in my arms. There was no child. I'd fallen face down into the snow. Help me! That's not my voice. I'm on my feet again. The mother is ahead of me. I followed her. She's going towards the walled garden. She seems to pass through the door, leaving me on the other side. Do not enter. I tried the rusty hoop handle. It broke off, taking a piece of door with it. I kicked the door open. It fell off its hinges. The ruined and abandoned garden lay before me, a walled garden of 1 acre used to feed 20 people, but that was a long time ago. There were footprints in the snow. I followed them. They led me to the bothy, I don't know. Its roof patched with corrugated iron. There was no door, but the inside seemed dry and sound. There was a tear off the calendar still on the wall, 22nd December 1916. I put my hand in my pocket and I realized that the key from the nativity. That word always gets me. My bad.
Nativity.
Is that how you say it? Nativity.
Yeah, I'm fairly certain it's nativity.
Well, okay. At the same time, I heard a chair scrape on the floor in the room beyond. I had no fear anymore. As the body first shivers and then numbs with cold, my feelings were frozen. I was moving through shadows as one who dreams. In the room beyond, there was a low fire lit in the tiny tin fireplace. On either side of the fire sat the mother and the child. The child was absorbed playing with a marble. Her bare feet were blue, but she did not seem to feel the cold any more than I did. Are we dead then? The woman with the shawl over her head looked at me with the deep, expressionless eyes. I recognized her. It was Mary Locke. She nodded at me, or at not me, at some other me in some other time. I do not know. Her gaze went to a tall cupboard. I knew that my key fitted this cupboard and that I must open it. I did so. A dusty uniform fell out, crumbling like a puppet. The uniform was not quite empty of its occupant. The back of the faded wool jacket had a long slash where the lungs would have been. I looked at the knife in my hand. Open the door. Are you in there? Open the door. I woke to blinding white. Where am I? Something's rocking in the car. Am I in my car? A heavy glove was brushing off the snow. I sat up, found my keys, pressed the unlock button. It was morning. Outside was the guard from the train, and a woman who announced herself as Mrs. Wormwood. Fine mess you've made here, she said. We went into the kitchen. I was shivering so much that Mrs. Wormwood relented and began to make coffee. Alfie fetched me, she said. After he spoke to your friends, there's a body, I said, in the walled garden. Is that where it is? Said Mrs. Wormwood. At Christmas 1914, Joseph Locke had gone to war. Before he left for Flanders, he had made a nativity scene for his little girl. When he came back in 1916, he had been gassed. They heard him climbing the stairs, grasping for breath through froth-corrupted lungs. His mind had gone, they said. At night in the attic where he slept with his wife and child, he leaned vacantly against the wall, rolling the child's marbles up and down and up, pacing. One night, just before Christmas, he strangled his wife and daughter. He left them for dead in the bed and went out, but his wife was not dead. She followed him in the morning. They found her sitting by the nativity, her dress dark with blood, her finger marks livid at her throat. She was singing a lullaby and pushing the point of the knife into the back of the wooden figure. Joseph was never found. Are you going to call the police? I said. What for? Said Mrs. Wormwood. Let the dead bury the dead. Alfie, the guard, went out to see to my car. It had started the first time. The exhaust blew in the white air. I left them clearing up and was about to set off when I remembered that I had left my radio in the kitchen. I went back inside. The kitchen was empty. I could hear the two of them up in the attic. I picked up the radio. The nativity was on the table, and I had left it. But it wasn't as I had left it. Joseph was there with the animals and the shepherds and the worn-out star, and in the center was the crib. Next to the crib were the wooden figures of the mother and child. And that's that story.
Damn. Dude, that's quite the
story.
Yeah, quite the Christmas tale there.
It really weird. And they both Mrs. Wormwood and the station guy, they knew about that?
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
That's what got me. I'm like, how do they know?
So
they're on a group text together.
Well, there's no signal out there.
Or is there?
What do you think she was just tripping?
She's jamming the signals.
Jamming the signal? You're gonna experience this ghost shit.
Damn, that's something else, you know.
I thought it was an interesting story. So both my stories
so
are
much going on in that too,
right.
When you were talking about the kitchen scene and the door flew open, and I was like, okay, you're in the kitchen, grab a knife or something. That's what I'm thinking. And then all of a sudden you said, and she grabs a knife, and I'm like, finally, somebody's smart.
Yeah, somebody's not just gonna go out there with nothing, you know.
Right. I got a wooden spoon.
Oh yeah, wooden spoon. I'm gonna smack you upside the head.
Yeah, no, that was good. Wow.
Yeah, and both my stories are pretty long. So like I got two.
They're good though. I mean, I don't know about the second one yet because I haven't heard it, but the first one, that was good,
sucks.
man.
No, I'm just kidding. So the second one is called Smee.
Smee?
Yeah, Smee is an SMEE.
Like the pirate from
Yes.
Peter Pan.
Oh yeah, I actually didn't put that together. I didn't put two and two together, I guess.
Sorry, my brain
just
works.
went to Peter Pan. You were like, fuck.
I'm like Rain Man over here with with movies and stuff.
With
just,
all the
like,
facts.
Weird
I like
shit pops into my head. You know, I can look at somebody and like see a movie character in them, and once I see it, I can't unsee it. Like we have a friend. I wouldn't say a friend. We have an acquaintance that God, I don't know if I should say this or not. It's kind of mean.
No, just fuck it. Go with
Fuck it. Here we go. She kind of looks like Pennywise. Yeah.
Just say. Just say no name. Fuck it. No, okay. Maybe not say the name.
I pointed it out to my wife, and
can't unsee it.
Now that she's seen it, she cannot unsee it, and she hates me for it because there's others like that. No, none that are coming to mind, but yeah, once I see shit like that, I'm like, they look like this, and then she's like, oh my god, you're right. And I'm like, I know. Now you know what kind of weird shit goes on in my mind.
God damn. Well, I hope I don't remind you of anybody.
Not yet.
Not yet. I gotta do something or say something or. Okay, fair.
I mean, you're close to Peter Griffin, but
Okay.
I knew it. That solved it right there.
Okay, so I am going to give credit to the author of this. So Smee is by A.M. Burrage. I could be botching that, or Barrage, or I'm gonna say Barrage because it sounds cool. So this one is a scary kind of hide and seek, if you will.
Ooh, I like hide and seek.
I do too.
Especially when the kids go hide and I pretend to count.
And then they just leave you
alone. And then
alone.
they fall asleep in their spots waiting for me to find them. It's such a quiet, peaceful night at that time.
Oh, he'll never find me here. You're just drinking a beer, just fuck it.
Sometimes I'll give them a shot of NyQuil first. Like, all right, kids, let's get this party started. Here's your shot of NyQuil. Go hide. In about 100 seconds, I'll come find you.
Well, can they even count to 100?
No. I count to 100.
Oh, you count to 100.
Yeah. I count out loud. 1, 2, 3. And then by about 10, I stop counting and crack open my beer and, like, start drinking.
Oh, there you go. That's the way, parenting
Usually,
101.
Oh, yeah. I give them a shot of NyQuil. I'm like, here's your energy shot for our game.
Yeah.
And then I give them their pillow, which I call a shield from the monster. Which in reality, it's just because they're going to get tired waiting for me to not find them, that they're going to fall asleep.
That's a good plan. I like your plan.
Yeah. And then I give them a blanket, and I tell them it's a net to catch the monster. So they have a shield that's a pillow, and a blanket that's a net. So then when they fall asleep, they're comfortable as fuck.
Monster hunting 101. Don't take that advice if you're like hunting an actual monster.
Yeah, no, it's not going to work for you. But if you want
Scooby-Doo.
to get your kids to fall asleep waiting for you,
Well, parenting 101 again. That's perfect, honestly.
Okay. Little NyQuil.
And NyQuil.
just saying, goes a long ways.
So, again, this one is Smee by A.M. Barrage. No, said Jackson with a weird smile. I'm sorry, I don't want to upset your game. I shan't be doing that. Who the fuck says shan't? Sorry. Because you'll have plenty without me. But I'm not playing any games of hide and seek. And it was Christmas Eve, and we were a party of 14 with just the proper leavening of youth. We had dined well, it was the season for childish games, and we were all in the mood for playing them. All, that is, except Jackson. When somebody suggested hide and seek, there was a rapturous and almost anonymous approval. His was the one... I'm sorry again. Dissentient voice. It was not like Jackson to spoil sport or refuse to do as others wanted. Somebody who asked him if he were feeling seedy. No, he answered. I feel perfectly fit, thanks. But, he added with a smile, which softened without retracting the flat refusal, I'm not playing hide and seek. One of us asked him why not. He hesitated for some seconds before replying, I sometimes go and stay at a house where a girl was killed through playing hide and seek in the dark. She didn't know the house very well. There was a servant's staircase with a door to it. When she was pursued, the door opened and jumped into what she must have thought was one of the bedrooms, and she broke her neck at the bottom of the stairs. We all looked concerned, and Mrs. Fernley said, how awful, and you were there when it happened? Jackson shook his head very gravely. No, he said, but I was there when something else happened, something worse. I shouldn't have thought anything could be worse. This was, said Jackson, and shuddered visibly, or so it seemed to me. I think he wanted to tell the story and was angling for encouragement. A few requests which may have seemed to him lack of urgency, he affected to ignore and went off at a tangent. I wonder if any of you have played a game called Smee. It's a great improvement on the ordinary game of hide and seek. The name derives from the ungrammatical colloquialism, it's me. You might care to play if you're going to play a game of that sort. Let me tell you the rules. Every player is presented with a sheet of paper. All the sheets are blank except for one, on which is written Smee. Nobody knows who is Smee except Smee, himself or herself, as the case may be. The lights are then turned out, and Smee slips from room and goes off to hide. After an interval, the other players go off in search without knowing whom they are actually in search of. The player meeting another challenges with the word Smee, and the other player, if not the one concerned, answers Smee. The real Smee makes no answer when challenged, and the second player remains quietly by him. Presently, they will be discovered by a third player who, having a challenged and received with no answer, we'll link up with the first two. This game already sounds confusing to me.
I think I've heard this.
Okay. Anyway, so this goes on until the players have formed a chain, and the last to join is marked down for a forfeit. It's a good, noisy, romping game, and in a big house, it often takes a long time to complete the chain. You might care to try it, and I'll have my forfeit and smoke one of Tim's excellent cigars here by the fire until you get tired of it. I remarked that it sounded a good game and asked Jackson if he had played by himself. Yes, he answered. I played it in the house I was telling you about. And she was there? The girl who broke? No, Miss Fernley interrupted. He told us that he wasn't there when it happened. Jackson considered. I don't know if she was there or not. I'm afraid she was. I know that there were 13 of us, and there ought to only have been 12. And I'll swear that I didn't know her name or think I should have gone clean off my head when I heard that whisper in the dark. No, you don't catch me playing that game or any other like it. anymore. It spoiled my nerve quite a bit, and I can't afford to take long holidays. Besides, it saves a lot of trouble and inconvenience to own up at once to being a coward. Tim Vouse, the best of hosts, smiled around us, and in that smile there was a meaning which is sometimes vulgarly expressed by the slow closing of an eye. "There's a story coming," he announced. "There's certainly a story of sorts," said Jackson, "but whether it's coming out or not," he paused and shrugged his shoulders. "Well, you're going to pay a forfeit instead of playing? Please, but have a heart and let me down lightly. It's not just a sheer cussedness on my part. Payment in advance," said Tim, ensures honesty and promotes good feeling. "You are therefore sentenced to tell the story here and now, and here follows Jackson's story, unrevised by me and passed on without comment to wider public. Some of you, I know, have run across the Sangstons, Christopher Sangston and his wife, I mean. They're distant connections of mine, at least Violet Sangston is. About 8 years ago, they bought a house between the North and South Downs on the Surrey and Sussex border, and 5 years ago they invited me to come and spend Christmas with them. It was a fairly odd house. I couldn't say exactly of what period, and it certainly deserved the epithet rambling. It wasn't a particularly big house, but the original architect, whoever he may have been, had not concerned himself with economizing in space. And at first, you could get lost in it quite easily. Well, I went down for that Christmas, assured by Violet's letter that I knew most of my fellow guests, and that the 2 or 3 who might be strangers to me were all lambs. Unfortunately, I'm not. I'm one of the world's workers and couldn't get away until Christmas Eve. Although the other members of the party had assembled on the preceding day, even then I had to cut it rather fine to be there for dinner on my first night. When they were all dressing when I arrived, and I had to go straight to my room and waste no time. I may even have kept dinner waiting a bit, for I was last down, and it was announced within a minute of my entering the drawing room. There was just time to say hello to everybody I knew, to be briefly introduced to the 2 or 3 I don't know, and then I had to give my arms to Mrs. Gorman. I mentioned this as the reason why I didn't catch the name of a tall, dark, handsome girl I hadn't met before. Everything was rather hurried, and I am always bad at catching people's names. She looked cold and clever and rather forbidding, the sort of girl who gives the impression of knowing all about men, and the more she knows of them, the less she likes of them. I felt that I wasn't going to hit it off with this particular lamb of Violet's, but she looked interesting all the same, and I wondered who she was. I didn't ask because I was pretty sure of hearing somebody address her by name before very long. Unluckily, though, I was a long way off her table, and Mrs. Gorman was at the top of her form that night. I soon forgot to worry about who she might be. Mrs. Gorman is one of the most amusing women I know, an outrageous but quite innocent flirt with a very sprightly wit, which isn't always unkind. She can think a half a dozen moves ahead in conversation, just as an expert can in a game of chess. We were soon sparring, or rather I was covering against the ropes, and I quite forgot to ask her in undertone the name of the cold, proud beauty. The lady on the other side of me was a stranger, or had been until a few minutes since. I didn't think of seeking information in that quarter. There was a round dozen of us, including the Sangstons themselves, and we were all young and trying to be. The Sangstons themselves were the oldest members of the party, and their son Reggie, in his last year at Marlborough, must have been the youngest. Where there was talk of playing games after dinner, it was who suggested Smee. He told us how to play it just as I've described it to you. His father chipped in as soon as we all understood what was going to be required of us. If there are any games of that sort going on in this house, he said, for goodness sake, be careful of the back stairs on the first floor landing. There's a door to them, and I've often meant to take it down. In the dark, anybody who doesn't know that the house very well might think they were walking into a room. A girl actually did break her neck on those stairs about 10 years ago when Einsteins lived here. Botched it again, probably. I asked how it happened. Said Sangston, there was a party here one Christmas time, and they were playing hide and seek as you proposed doing. This girl was one of the hiders. She heard somebody coming, ran along the passage to get away, and opened the door of what she thought was a bedroom. Eventually, with the intention hiding behind it while her pursuer went past. Unfortunately, it was the door leading to the back stairs, and that staircase is as straight and almost as steep as the shaft of a pit. She was dead when they picked her up. We all promised for our own sakes to be careful. Mrs. Gorman said that she was sure nothing could happen to her since she was insured by 3 different firms. And her next of kin was a brother whose consistent ill luck was byword in the family. You see, none of us had known the unfortunate girl, and as the tragedy was 10 years ago, there was no need to pull long faces about it. We all started the game almost immediately after dinner. The men who allowed themselves only 5 minutes before joining the ladies, and then young Reggie Sangston went around and assured himself that the lights were out all over the house except for in the servants' quarters and in the drawing room where we assembled. We then got busy with 12 sheets of paper, which he twisted into pellets and shook up between his hands before passing them around. 11 of them are blank, and Smee was written on the 12th. The person drawing the latter was the one who had to hide. I looked and saw that mine was a blank. A moment later, went the electric lights, and in the darkness I heard somebody get up and creep on the floor. After a minute or so, somebody gave a signal, and we made a rush to the door. I for one hadn't the least idea which of the party was Smee. For 5 or 10 minutes, we were all rushing up and down the passages and in and out of the rooms, challenging one another and answering Smee, Smee. After a bit of excursions died down, and I guess that Smee was found. Eventually, I found a chain of people all sitting still and holding their breath on some narrow stairs leading to the row of attics. I hastily joined it, having a challenged and been answered with silence. Presently 2 more stragglers arrived, each racing the other to avoid being last. Sangston was one of them. Indeed, it was he who was marked down for the forfeit. And after a little while, he remarked in an undertone, "I think we're all here now, aren't we?" He struck a match, looked up at the shaft in the staircase, and began to count. It wasn't hard, although we just about filled the staircase, for we were sitting each a step or 2 above the next, and all our heads were visible. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, he concluded, and then laughed. "Dash it all, that's one too many." The match had burned out, and he struck another and began to count. As he got as far as 12 and then uttered an exclamation. "There are 13 people here," he exclaimed. "I haven't counted myself yet." "Oh, nonsense," I laughed. "You probably began with yourself, and now you want to count yourself twice." "Oh," out came his son's electric torch, giving a brighter and steadier light, and we all began to count. Of course, we had number 12. Sangston laughed. "Well," he said, "I could have sworn I counted 13 twice." From the hallway up the stairs came Violet Sangston's voice with a little nervous trill in it. "I thought there was somebody sitting 2 steps above me. Have you moved up, Captain Ransom?" Ransom said that he hadn't. He also said that he thought there was somebody sitting between Violet and himself. Just for a moment, there was an uncomfortable something in the air. A little cold ripple when touched, which touched us all. For that little moment, it seemed to all of us, I think, that something odd and unpleasant had happened and was liable to happen again. There we laughed at ourselves and at one another, and we were comfortable once more. There were only 12 of us, and there could have only been 12 of us, and there was no argument about it. Still laughing, we trooped back to the drawing room and began again. This time, I was Smee, and Violet Sangston ran me to the earth while I was still looking for a hiding place. That round didn't last long, and we were a chain of 12 within 2 or 3 minutes. Afterwards, there was a short interval. Violet wanted a rap fetched for her, and her husband went up to get it from her room. He was sooner than gone. Then Reggie pulled me by the sleeve. I saw that he was looking pale and sick. "Quick," he whispered, "while father's out of the way, take me into the smoke room and give me a brandy or a whiskey or something." Outside the room, I asked him what was the matter, but he didn't answer at first, and I thought it better to dose him first and question him afterward. So I mixed him a pretty dark complexion brandy and soda, which he drank at a gulp and then began to puff as if he had been running. "I've had rather a turn," he said to me with a sheepish grin. "What's the matter?" "I don't know. You were Smee just now, weren't you?" Well, of course I didn't know who Smee was, and while Mother and the others ran into the West Wing and found you, I turned east. There's a deep clothes cupboard in my bedroom. I'd marked it down as a good place to hide when it was my turn, and I had an idea that Smee might be there. Opening the door in the dark, felt round and touched somebody's hand. "Smee?" I whispered, and not getting any answer, I thought I had found Smee. Well, I don't know how it was, but an odd, creepy feeling came over me. I can't describe it, but I felt that something was wrong, so I turned on my electric torch, and there was nobody there. Now, I swear I touched a hand, and I was filling up the doorway of the cupboard at the time, so nobody could get out and past me. He puffed again. "What do you make of it?" he asked. "You imagined that you had touched a hand," I answered. Naturally enough, he uttered a short laugh. "Of course, I knew you were going to say that," he said. "I must have imagined it, mustn't I?" He paused and swallowed. "I mean, it couldn't have been anything else but imagination, could it?" I assured him that it couldn't, meaning what I said, and he accepted this, but rather with the philosophy of one who knows he is right but doesn't expect to be believed. We returned together to the drawing room, where by that time they were all waiting for us and ready to start again. It may have been my imagination, although I'm almost sure it wasn't, but it seemed to me that all the enthusiasm for the game had suddenly melted like a white frost in a strong sunlight. If anybody had suggested another game, I'm sure we should all have been grateful and abandoned Smee. Only nobody did. Nobody seemed to like to. I, for one, I could speak for some of the others too. I was oppressed and with the feeling that there was something wrong. I couldn't have said what I thought was wrong. Indeed, I didn't think about it at all. But somehow all the sparkle had gone out of the fun, and hovering over my mind like a shadow was the warning of some sixth sense, which told me that there was an influence in the house which was neither sane, sound, nor healthy. Why did I feel like that? Because Sangston had counted 13 of us instead of 12, and his son thought that he had touched somebody in the empty cupboard? No. There wasn't. There was more in it than just that. One would have laughed at such things in ordinary way, and it was just that feeling of something being wrong which stopped me from laughing. Well, we started again, and when we went in pursuit of the unknown Smee, we were noisy as ever. But it seemed to me that the most of us were acting, frankly, for no reason other than the one I've given you. We'd stopped enjoying the game. I had an instinct to hunt with the main pack, but after a few minutes during which no Smee had been found, my instinct to play winning games and be first if possible set me searching on my own account. And on the first floor of the West Wing, following the wall, which was actually the shell of the house, I blundered against a pair of human knees. I put my hand out and touched a soft, heavy curtain, and then I knew where I was. There was a tall, deeply recessed windows with seats along the landing and curtains over the recesses to the ground. Somebody was sitting in the corner of this window, seat behind the curtain. Aha! I had caught Smee! So I drew the curtains aside, stepped in, and touched the bare arm of a woman. It was dark. It was a dark night outside, and moreover, the windows was not only curtained, but a blind hung down to where the bottom panes joined with the frame. Between the curtain and the window, it was as dark as the plague of Egypt. I could have not seen my hand held 6 inches before my face, much less the woman sitting in the corner. Smee? I whispered. I had no answer. Smee, when challenged, does not answer. So I sat beside her, first in the field to await the others. Then, having settled myself, I leaned over to her and whispered, "Who is it? What is your name?" "Smee." And out of the darkness beside me, the whisper came back, "Brenda Ford." I didn't know the name, but because I didn't know it, I guessed at once who she was. The tall, pale, dark girl was the only person in the house I didn't know by name. Ergo, my companion was the tall, pale, dark girl. It seemed rather intriguing to be there with her, shut in between a heavy curtain and a window, and I rather wondered whether she was enjoying the game we were all playing. Somehow she hadn't seemed to me to be one of the romping sort. I muttered 1 or 2 commonplace questions to her, and she had no answer. Smee is a game of silence. Smee and the person of persons who have found Smee are supposed to keep quiet and make it hard for the others. But there was nobody else about, and it occurred to me that she was playing the game a little too much better to the letter. And I spoke again and got no answer, and then I began to be annoyed. She was out of that cold, superior type which affects to despise men. She didn't like me, and she was sheltering behind the rules of the game for children to be discourteous. Well, if she didn't like sitting there with me, I certainly didn't want to be sitting there with her. I half turned from her and began to hope that we should be discovered without much delay. Having discovered that I didn't like being there alone with her, I was queer how soon I found myself hating it, and that for a reason very different from the one which had first whetted my annoyance. The girl I had met for the first time before dinner and seen diagonally across the table had sort of a cold charm about her which had attracted while it had angered me. For the girl who was with me, imprisoned in the opaque darkness between the curtain and the window, I felt no attraction at all. It was so very much the reverse that I should have wondered at myself after the first shock of the discovery that she had suddenly become repelled to me. I had room in my mind for anything besides the consciousness that her close presence was an increasing horror to me. It came upon me just as quickly as I've uttered the words. My flesh suddenly shrank from her as you see a strip of gelatin shrink and wither before the heat of the fire. That feeling of something being wrong had come back to me, but multiplied to an extent which turned foreboding into actual terror. I firmly believe that I should have got up and run if I had not felt that at my first movement she would have divined my intention and compelled me to stay, by some means of which I could not bear to think. The memory of having touched her bare arm made me wince and draw on my lips. I prayed that someone else would come along soon. My prayer was answered. Light footfalls sounded on the landing. Somebody on the other side of the curtain brushed against my knees. The curtain was drawn aside, and a woman's hand, fumbling in the darkness, presently rested on my shoulder. "Smee?" whispered a voice which I instantly recognized as Miss Gorman's. Of course, she received no answer. She came and settled down beside me with a rustle, and I can't describe the sense of relief she brought me. "It's Tony, isn't it?" she whispered. "Yes," I whispered back. "You're not Smee, are you?" "No, she's on the other side." She reached a hand across me, and I heard one of her nails scratch the surface of a woman's silk gown. "Hello, Smee. How are you? Who are you? Oh, is it against the rules to talk? Never mind. Tony will break the rules. Do you know, Tony, this game is beginning to irk me a little. I hope they're not going to run run it to death by playing it all evening. I'd like to play some game where we can all sit together in the same room with a nice bright fire. Same here. I agreed. Fuck. I just agreed. Can't you suggest something when we go down? There's something rather uncanny in this particular amusement. I can't quite shed the delusion that there's somebody in this game who who isn't supposed to be in it at all. That was just how I had been feeling, but I didn't say so. But for my part, the worst of my qualms were now gone. The arrival of Miss Gorman had dissipated them. We sat on talking, wondering from time to time when the rest of the party would arrive. I don't know how long elapsed before we heard a clatter of feet on the landing, and young Reggie's voice shouting, "Hello? Hello? Hello there. Anybody there?" "Yes," I answered. "Miss Gorman with you?" "Yes." "Well, you're a nice pair. You've both forfeited. We've all been waiting for you for hours." "Why haven't you found Smee yet?" I objected. You haven't, you mean?" I happen to have been Smee myself, but Smee's here with us," I cried. "Yes," agreed Miss Gorman. The curtain was stripped aside, and in a movement we were blinking into the eye of Reggie's electric torch. I looked at Miss Gorman, and then on my other side, between me and the wall, there was an empty space on the window seat. I stood up at once and wished I hadn't, for I found myself sick and dizzy. "There was somebody there," I maintained, "because I touched her." "So did I," said Miss Gorman in a voice which had lost its steadiness. "And I don't see how she could have gotten up and gone without our knowing." Reggie uttered a queer, shaken laugh. He, too. He had an unpleasant experience that evening. "Somebody's been playing the goat," he remarked, coming down. We were not very popular when we arrived in the drawing room. Reggie rather tactlessly gave it out that he had found us sitting on a window seat behind the curtain. I taxed the tall, dark girl with having pretended to be Smee, and afterwards slipping away, she denied it. After which we settled down and played other games. Smee was done with for the evening, and I was for one glad of it. Some long while later, during an interval, Sangston told me if I wanted to drink, to go into the smoke room and help myself. I went, and he presently followed me. I could see that he was rather peeved with me, and the reason came out during the following minute or two. It seemed that, in his opinion, if I must sit out and flirt with Miss Gorman in circumstances which would have been considered highly compromising in his young days, I needn't do it during a round game and keep everybody waiting for us. "But there was somebody else there," I protested. "Somebody pretending to be Smee. I believe it was that tall, dark girl, Miss Ford." Miss Ford, although she denied it, she even whispered her name to me. Sangston stared at me and nearly dropped his glass. "Miss who?" he shouted. "Brenda Ford. She told me her name was." Sangston put down his glass, laid a hand on my shoulder. "Look here, old man," he said. "I don't mind a joke, but don't let it go too far. We don't want all the women in the house getting hysterical. Brenda Ford is the name of the girl who broke her neck on the stairs playing hide and seek here 10 years ago.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Damn. That is a good story.
Yeah, I kind of botched a lot of shit in there.
You did, but it was good. And I only noticed that because, like I said, I have heard that story before.
You've heard the Smee story?
I didn't remember the title of it, but once you started going, yeah, I remember hearing it.
Damn
before. It! But there was definitely more that I took away from it this time than the first time I heard it, you know?
That was creepy as shit. I got chills reading that last part.
Yeah, I got some chills going on here. That is one hell of a story.
Yeah,
the fact that you're playing more or less hide and seek, and this ghost decides to play hide and seek with you.
I thought the creep factor was that she didn't say anything. Usually, like, when you're in parties and shit like that, and you're, people are probably drinking or whatever.
Oh, yeah, definitely drinking.
You would think that they'd be a lot more giggly. Like, you know what I mean? Like, God damn it, or say something like, "Ah, you found me." Like, that would have just given it away to me. Like, not.
But if she was following the rules,
Well,
and the
fair.
rules are you don't. If you're Smee, you don't talk.
But I mean, who's gonna be that uptight? You know what I mean?
There are those people.
I mean, I guess you're right, but I don't know.
But I agree. Most people, if you've been drinking quite a bit, are pretty talkative.
Dude, that literally takes me back to the Conjuring movie when they're playing the clap game.
Oh yeah,
And-
the clap game. Yeah, that.
See, that scared the shit out of me when
that-
she's in the dark and the hands come behind her head and they're like,
Right, and you're
Fuck.
like, damn, where'd those come from?
exactly.
Jesus.
So I think that's gonna
Man, that's. I'm not playing hide and seek anymore.
be. You're not.
At least not with the lights off.
Well, what happens if? What about the kids in the NyQuil?
Oh, I said with the lights off.
Fair.
The lights are still gonna stay on.
Well, all right. So I think it's time that we go to our sponsor break before we get into what your stories are.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely time for a quick little sponsor break.
So
So,
yeah, let's get into it. So take it away, Anchor. And we're back.
yeah. Welcome back. Second half, Christmas special.
Christmas special.
Oh yeah.
I like that. So now that my stories are over and done with, I think it's time to move it on to you.
All right, buddy. You got your festive drink there.
Oh yeah, dude.
You all comfy for this shit? Because we're traveling tonight.
Oh, we're traveling.
Oh, yeah.
Hope it's somewhere warm.
I doubt that they're warmer than here.
Damn it.
I don't know. I haven't looked, but. So first off, what we're gonna do, I'm gonna talk a little bit of Krampus history.
Hell yeah.
All right, so every year in early December, children in Austria get ready for St. Nicholas to visit them. If they've been good, he'll reward them with presents and treats. But if they've been bad, they'll get a lot more than a lump of coal. They'll have to face Krampus. Who's Krampus, you ask? He's a half man, half goat who comes around every year to chase naughty children and maybe even drag them to hell. European versions of St. Nicholas have had scary counterparts like Bell's Nickel and I'm botching these names, but
Yeah, it's whatever. I did.
he's got some counterparts who'll dole out punishment. Krampus is one such character who comes from folklore in Austria's Alpine region, where he's been frightening children and amusing dolts for hundreds of years.
Ooh.
Krampus and Saint Nick's other bad boys have their origins in pagan celebrations of the winter solstice.
Huh.
Later, they became part of Christian traditions in which Saint Nicholas visited children to reward them on December 5th or 6th. Around that time, his menacing partner would also visit kids to punish them. In Alpine Austria and some parts of Germany, this day was known as Krampusnacht.
Krampus Nosh.
Notch. Yeah. Or Krampus Night.
Nice.
When adults might dress up as Krampus to frighten children at their homes. Children might have also seen Krampus running through the street during the Krampus run. If Krampus Night was a way to scare kids into behaving themselves, then the Krampus Run, which isn't tied to a specific day, was a way for grown men to blow off steam while probably still scaring kids. Austrian men would get drunk and run through the streets dressed as the fearsome creature. And the tradition continues to today.
God damn. No, I'm sorry. I'm just thinking of all these parents buying a fucking Krampus costume and just being like, motherfucker. Like,
You know I would.
I know
I'd
you
be all over
would.
that shit.
God damn, dude. I would I would have too much fun with that.
Right. I know quite a few kids I'd be throwing in a stack to go beat.
Oh, hell yeah. Just beating the shit out of them. Just being like, hey,
Yeah.
be good or I'm coming back for your fucking soul.
Right? So, Krampus gets his name from the old German word for claw. In Austria, Santa Claus is called St. Nicholas, and his helper is a terrifying demon named Krampus, who travels with him on Christmas Eve. Krampus is a red-faced, goat-horned demon who is covered in shaggy black fur. He has chains hanging from his body, and he rings a large cowbell. He has a long, waggling red tongue, a tail, and carries a big stick and a large black bag. On Christmas Eve, Austrian children place their shoes on the windowsill outside their bedroom door. While they sleep, Santa Claus and Krampus visit their home. If they've been good, Santa leaves candy and treats in their shoes. If they've been bad, Krampus beats them with his stick. If they've been really bad, Krampus puts them in his sack and carries them off and throws them in a river.
Jesus Christ.
Just imagine this. It's Christmas Eve and you've just finished watching a Christmas movie with your family or singing Christmas carols by the fireside. You're settling down to sleep when suddenly an enormous shaggy monster with horns busts into your bedroom, dragging chains and ringing a bell. He attacks you, beats you over the head with a stick while you scream for your parents to help you. Then he stuffs you in a big bag and kidnaps you as your parents stand by and do nothing. Finally, he throws you in a river and drowns you. All this because you didn't behave yourself during the year.
Jesus Christ. I'm just imagining some like twins, like let's say like twin boys in a room. And like the
he
one's
gets
been
confused.
No. I wasn't thinking that. I was thinking more like he gets in there and you know, Santa's looking at his list and he's going right next to Krampus and he goes, so he's been good, and the kids wake up and they see it and fucking the kid's all like, yay, and he's been naughty. And just imagine this kid, fucking his parents just said, well, you didn't get your grades up because he was struggling in some class, and he gets the shit beat out of him for getting the fucking C on his report card. Like, I just seeing that being like, no.
Oh man.
Sorry.
No, that's a good one. So I've got a few reports from children here on my list.
Like live report, like real reports, or
they could be real, they could be made up. You know,
okay.
We're not going to cast judgment either way. But I'm an Australian and quite familiar with the Krampus since I got beaten by him several times in my childhood. Nina.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, her sentence grammar there really
no, that wasn't what I was laughing at.
Throws me off.
Just imagine these parents, like, oh, you know, all the parents in Austria just dressing up as Krampus, beating the shit out of their kids.
It's a get out of jail free card to beat your kids.
Yep.
Alright, this one. My family lived in Germany when I was young. My siblings and I had the opportunity to meet Krampus every Christmas. It was truly terrifying as a kid. Krampus would come into our house. We were lined up as he asked us questions about how good or bad we'd been all year. Krampus had a big bag full of kids with legs and arms sticking out that would actually move around and whimper. Krampus would walk over and whack the bag with a whip. Oh man, we didn't want to end up in that bag. Gavin.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, can you imagine that? Some stranger, you don't even know this guy, and he dresses up as Krampus, and just comes to your house, door to door, you know, coming in, and he's got like this animatronic bag with arms that randomly move and wiggle and shit.
Just think about if they were actually like real kids inside the bag and he's just whipping it every fucking time.
Nobody second guesses it.
They're like, oh, that's some good special effects, so there's kids crying. Like,
damn.
God damn.
All right, now I have some actual stories.
All right, let's get
it. Frederick loved to smile, for he was always glad, happy, warm, and gentle, never, ever sad. But Frederick had a secret. Only one he only knew. This man loved to strangle children. He turned them cold and blue. The townsfolk never found them, for he was very smart. Frederick took their corpses and pulled them apart. It couldn't be young Frederick, everyone would say. He's a man of God. We always see him praying. The cold night came, and Frederick rested his head, but soon he heard a scratching underneath his bed. Frederick trembled as he looked, oil lamp in hand, on his bedroom floor. The demon had a plan. "Away with you, beast! The night is dark and long. You have no business here, for I have done no wrong." Krampus only laughed as he shook his rusty chain and hung Frederick by the neck until he riddled with pain. The links constricted, dragging into his skin. Frederick then cried out, paying for his sin. He begged and pleaded until his final breath. With a fearful snap, Frederick bled to death. Krampus hung him out to dry, and all the townsfolk began to cry, but not the children, for now their souls were free, and under Frederick's body, the phantoms danced with glee.
So it was like a little poem.
Kinda, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's kind of fucked up, Frederick. Jesus Christ.
But it shows, if you've been bad, Krampus is gonna make you pay.
Even as a full-grown adult.
Yeah, he don't fuck around.
He don't fuck around. As murderer.
Yeah. All right. Herman was a doctor, for that's what he would say, and every single patient they would have to pay. He cut and pulled and burned, and after he was done, for more he always yearned. The surgeon was a butcher who had a taste for swine. With their bleeding flesh, he'd pair a fine wet red wine.
Ew.
The hunger took him, body, mind, and soul. Yet this evil, it never took its toll. Herman was alone. In his chair he sat. All this human meat he had made him very fat. He drifted off to slumber and began to snore, until an angry Krampus burst through the door. Herman could not move. He wet himself in fright. Krampus licked his lips and let out a squeal of delight. First he gouged out his eyes, and Herman could not see. Then Krampus filleted his tongue. It was tender as could be. Christmas is joyous, full of love and cheer. But you must remember the one that we all fear. So be kind to one another. Show love and heed this text, or Krampus will find you, and you will certainly be next.
God damn, I like how these are like Christmas stories. Like, it reminds me of what was that? Like I don't know, just some of those old Christmas stories that you read, like children's books almost.
Right, yeah. This is really good. So I got one more like this, and then then we're gonna travel a bit.
Okay, that sounds good.
So, Greta loved herself more than she could bear. She never had enough, and could never ever share. Want was never more. It was only need. Her envy grew and grew, and with it came her greed. Greta needed more, but money wasn't flush. So she stole from her family, and it gave her quite the rush. It was not enough to herself, she would say, "I must have it all. There is no other way." Into her grandparents' home, Greta crept inside. They had many treasures, jewelry, and gemstones pied. But when she looked about, wealth she could not find. Only ancient Krampus with something on his mind. Greta shrieked and trembled, staring at his claws. She knew there would be no mercy from this evil Santa Claus. "You shall have the riches," Krampus said with a grin, and he gave them to her after peeling off her skin.
Oh.
Yeah, well, come on.
Those are really fucked up.
That one is actually my favorite of all three.
Really?
Yeah, because he peels off her skin, I mean.
Well, okay, fair. Peels it off like chicken. I think my favorite out of those three were probably Frederick, because like it was just kind of fucked up.
Yeah, I mean, Frederick definitely got what was coming to his punk ass.
And especially like I hate when people say that. Like, I could have never guessed that it was him. No,
those
he would
are
never
usually
do
the
anything.
ones you got to worry about.
Well, exactly. Like, why don't people and use some common sense and be rational and be like, okay, just because I think that he could not do something like that doesn't mean that he can't. I hate that. I just don't know.
Right. There's plenty of serial killers that came across as a nice, polite guy, and come to find out he's murdering kids.
Oh yeah, like fucking what's his name?
Well, there's Gacy.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't Gacy. It was
Ted
like
Bundy?
Yeah, Bundy.
Yeah.
That's who I was thinking of. Super nice guy.
Green River Killer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, excuse me, that festive juice is
Brewing, isn't it?
yeah, just a little bit. So we're going to go to Iceland.
Iceland?
Yeah. Have you ever heard of Gryla and the Yule Cat?
No, I have not.
According to Icelandic Christmas folklore, this black cat belonged to the half-ogre, half-troll Gryla. Gryla is a giant ogre who lives in a cave. During Christmas, she emerges to hunt for children, which she kidnaps, takes to her cave, and cooks in a vat of stew. Gryla has a variety of companions, including the Yule lads, her 13 unruly troll children, and the Yule cat. Do you think that the Yule cat sits on your lap as you open gifts, playing with the wrapping paper, or contributing to the overall atmosphere of cozy Christmas? Wrong. The Yule cat is terrifying like Satan, walking among us like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. The massive Yule cat lopes through the town in the dark, peering into the lighted windows of children's bedrooms. The only way to save yourself from being eaten is to show him that you got clothes for Christmas because you were good this year. If you didn't get any new clothes, you leave out old clothes and hope to God they meet his standards.
God damn. Oh, fucking cat. Like, what?
Yeah, you thought we were going to do a cheerful Christmas? Like, no.
Well, no.
I found some dark shit.
I like that. No, I was just thinking in my head, like, what if, like, you don't have, like, the nicest clothes in the world, but it's what you got, and you give it to him and be like, you poor bastard, literally.
Yeah, he's like, oh, fuck you. You're done.
Yep.
These aren't up to my standards. That's not silk, bitch.
Oh, fucking cat.
Yeah. Next, we're going to go to France.
Ooh la la.
Hans Trapp roamed the countryside as a scarecrow. According to Alastair lore, Hans Trapp was a local man renowned for his greed and unscrupulousness. He used witchcraft and deals with the devil to become rich. After being excommunicated from the Catholic Church, he lost his wealth and social standing. He took to roaming the countryside disguised as a scarecrow. At some point, Hans Trapp became consumed with the idea of tasting human flesh. He lured a shepherd boy to his death, then cooked him over a fire. Before Hans Trapp could take his first bite, however, God, finally feeling that things had gone too far, struck him with lightning. Hans Trapp died. But he returned sometimes on Christmas to go from door to door looking for young, tasty children.
Ooh, okay. That's kind of cool. I like that.
A Christmas scarecrow. Come on.
Yeah, that's pretty badass.
I'm going to start putting up scarecrows with Santa hats out in the front yard now. Be like, I'm festive as shit, bitch.
According to France.
Yeah, you uncultured swine.
I could see that.
All right, now this one, we will be traveling to Austria and Bavaria.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. I'm probably going to botch the name.
That's fine.
You
know, to all the viewers really fast, if we botch things...
just laugh at us like we laugh at ourselves.
Okay, yeah, exactly. Like, if we botch it, I know we should probably, like, look it up or whatever, but, you know, fuck it. We're just going to read it. And
maybe if you would give us some feedback and tell us that you don't like that, maybe we might change. But, you know, you would have to go onto that Anchor app and send us a message to let us know.
Yeah, you don't have to download the app. Just go online and record it.
So, Frau Berchetta was also known as Berchetta or Bertha, and has also been called Spinning Room Lady. She's often depicted with a beaked nose made of iron, dressed in rags, perhaps carrying a cane, and generally resembles a decrepit old crone. But this old crone packs a mighty wallop and carries a long knife hidden under her skirt. She also bears a resemblance to the Scandinavian goddess Frigga. And both of them share one obsession in common: spinning, specifically, and domestic neatness generally. Weird sentence. Weird sentence. Anyways, frankly, she's pretty judgy about the state of your home for a woman who dresses in all rags. Legend has it that you'd better get all your flax spun up by the 12th night, January 6th, for when the Christmas season was over, it'd be time to set up for the big upright loom, at which time you must have enough thread to wrap it up and start your weaving. And that's Friar Perchetta's punishment for those lazy ladies who haven't finished all their weaving. In Germany, Austria, Switzerland, there were numerous tales of her trampling and even setting fire to half the spun fibers.
Jesus.
And if you should really irritate her, like say, not only is your flax not spun, but your house is a total mess, this domestic goddess, which hates a messy house, and when you've even failed to leave out a traditional bowl of porridge for her, well then her rampaging will extend far beyond your slovenly spinning room. She'll do nothing less than steal it into your bedroom, disembowel you, and replace your guts with rocks and straw. You don't fuck with her, okay?
Agreed.
This story goes on a lot longer than I thought. Huh. But she does more than just check up on your spinning. Other legends equate her with the legend of the Wild Hunt and say that she flies through the night sky attached by an army of lost souls. Oh, attended by an army of lost souls, sorry. Including the demonic-looking Perchant. Her army of servants who are visually nearly indistinguishable from Krampus. The only way to know for sure is context. Krampus rides abroad with St. Nicholas on Christmas Eve, also known as Brechl Nights or Knocking Nights. Along her army of the night are the souls of unbaptized children. Legend has it, if you hear the wind and thunder roaring and rumbling through the mountains on Brechl Nights, you're really hearing the sounds of Perchetta leading the wild hunt.
Jesus.
What's Christmas without a little murder?
I like that.
A girl named Juliet is home alone, as she lives with her single mother, who's a nurse taking the night shift. Juliet just finished decorating the Christmas tree, when there's a scratching at the door to their apartment. When she looks through the peephole, she sees a man dressed in a dirty Santa Claus suit. "It's Santa Claus!" she says. Juliet, maybe only 11 years old, but she's not an idiot. She refuses to open the door and threatens to call the police when he doesn't leave. His solution to this little dilemma? An axe. Juliet hides in the closet while he busts down the door. When he finds her, she manages to stab him in the eye with a coat hanger, and it all goes downhill from there. Juliet's mom finally manages to come home around midnight. She finds the door busted open, and the Christmas tree decorated with bits of Juliet.
Oh, that's fucked up.
Right? How's that one for you?
That was pretty fucking...
Ho, ho, ho.
gnarly.
Hanging eyeballs on the tree and shit.
So festive.
Very. I have a Romanian werewolf
Yay! My favorite monster.
of ancient lore. And they love Christmas. They're like dogs who adore winter because they get to roll around in the snow. When they're not killing people, that is. But the werewolves are unique in that they don't reproduce by biting their victims. They're the hairy, reanimated corpses of evil men who've committed violent crimes and who just can't seem to get enough of that bloodletting. And if that's not bad enough, they won't stay dead. After one of them dies, it comes back again. This time as a vampire. Third time's the charm and all that. Werewolf activity is said to increase during Christmas season. Makes sense, seeing as wolves are social animals. They gotta check in on grandma, visit the in-laws, count how many humans they've killed this year, and set a new goal for next year.
I like that. I like that it. You kill them once, they come back as a vampire. Kill them again. So you kill them again, and they're dead. Okay.
That's what I'm getting out of this. Yes,
that's really cool though. I'm glad that you brought the werewolf stories.
I brought that one in just for you, buddy, because I know how much you like werewolves.
Yeah, see, that's fucking dope.
So I found a little Christmas werewolf story.
That was your Christmas gift for me.
I didn't think one existed until I found that.
I like that. That was really nice. I think
that's in Romania.
I think my favorite story now is that one.
Yeah,
Christmas werewolf. And
okay, and so whether it's Krampus, Gryla, Yule Cat, or the Christmas Witch, you can be sure that if you're naughty, there'll be punishments coming your way. So watch out. Being rude to your neighbors, or bullying the shy nerdy kid in your class, or stealing that candy bar. Because they're out there watching, waiting to teach you bad kids a lesson.
Hell yeah. So sleep tight.
Don't let Krampus get you.
And always be mindful of your fearful thoughts.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.